Welcome to Athens, Missouri, August 1861. A town with meat-packing plants, German farmers, and absolutely no idea it was about to become the northernmost battlefield west of the Mississippi. This is a story of politics, pride, and powder kegs, of men who fought not for glory, but for the soul of a divided nation, of cannons that roared, chickens that panicked, and one colonel who took a bullet to the leg and still refused to retreat. From the strategic genius of Colonel David Moore, who turned fences and porches into fortresses, to the overconfident march of Colonel Martin Greene, whose cannon named Old Thunder ended up sinking in the river. This is not just a battle. It's a full-blown theatrical production with smoke, sass, and sabotage. So grab your kepi, load your musket, and prepare to witness the skirmish that made Athens famous, not for its factories, but for its firepower. Athens, Missouri in 1861 was the kind of town that made you want to settle down, raise chickens, and argue about the price of molasses. Nestled on the banks of the Des Moines River just across from Iowa, it was a frontier town with ambition. With over 500 residents, Athens boasted meat-packing plants, factories, churches, and schools, a microcosm of the Market Revolution's promise. It was a town that thrived on trade, not tirades. Topographically, Athens sat on gently rolling terrain, with the river to its east and fertile farmlands stretching westward. The town's name? A nod to the classical city of wisdom, though in 1861 it was less Plato and more powder kegs. Economically, Athens was a gem. Its river access made it a hub for shipping goods, and its proximity to Iowa meant it was a lifeline for Union logistics. But as the Civil War loomed, even this peaceful town couldn't dodge the storm. Born on July 3, 1817, in Columbiana County, Ohio, Moore was raised in Missouri and had the kind of resume that made other officers jealous. He fought in the Mexican-American War, served in the 3rd Ohio Volunteers, and could probably recite the Constitution backwards while loading a musket blindfolded. Moore married young and settled in Missouri, where he tried his hand at business, unsuccessfully. His failed venture in dry goods left him broke, but not broken. He was known for his stern discipline, fiery speeches, and unshakable loyalty to the Union. His weakness? A tendency to take on too much, too fast. But when the war broke out, Moore didn't hesitate. He was appointed commander of the 1st Northeast Missouri Home Guard, a unit made up of German immigrants, farmers, and shopkeepers, men who'd rather be milking cows than dodging cannonballs. Why Germans? Because many had fled Europe after the failed revolutions of 1848 and saw the Union as a beacon of liberty. They were fiercely anti-slavery and pro-democracy. Moore respected them, trained them, and trusted them. Born June 3, 1815, in Fauquier County, Virginia, Greene moved to Lewis County, Missouri in 1836 with his bride and brothers. They built a sawmill, made a fortune, and Greene became a judge and a prominent Democrat. His brother, James S. Greene, was a U.S. Senator, so yes, the family had political clout. Greene was a staunch secessionist, a man who probably embroidered states' rights on his pillowcases. He was charismatic, wealthy, and deeply committed to the Southern cause. His weakness? Overconfidence. He believed his men, mostly untrained farmers, could outmatch any Union force with sheer grit and a few cannons. He was given command of the Missouri State Guard, a force of 2,000 men armed with hunting rifles, shotguns, and righteous indignation. His artillery included 3 cannons, the largest of which was affectionately nicknamed Old Thunder, a 6-pounder field piece acquired from a local militia depot in Palmyra, Missouri. In late July 1861, Moore moved his home guard into Athens. Why? Because Athens had food, river access, and was close to Iowa, a Union stronghold. It was a strategic move. Control the town, control the region. But it was also political. Moore wanted to send a message. This town flies the stars and stripes, not the stars and bars. He fortified the town, positioned his men behind fences and buildings, and waited. He knew Greene was nearby, and he knew the Confederates wouldn't let this occupation stand. The other 2 cannons, less affectionately named but equally loud, were positioned strategically on the ridges overlooking Athens, giving Greene a bird's-eye view of the town and a perfect angle to rain down fire. His plan? Intimidate Colonel David Moore into retreat. After all, Moore's force numbered only 333 to 500 men, and Greene had the numbers, the cannons, and the bravado. What could go wrong? Spoiler, everything. At the crack of dawn, Greene gave the order. The cannons roared to life, sending cannonballs tearing through the morning mist, smashing into buildings, fences, and one unfortunate chicken coop. Chickens scattered. Windows shattered. The town of Athens woke up to war. The battle lasted about 2 hours. Moore's men, though outnumbered, were better trained and better armed. They took cover behind fences, porches, barrels, and anything that looked remotely bulletproof. Their return fire was precise, deadly, and relentless. During the chaos, Colonel David Moore was wounded in the leg. Bloodied but unbowed, he refused to leave the field. "I'll be damned if I let Greene take this town," he reportedly shouted, reloading his pistol with one hand and barking orders with the other. His men rallied around him. The streets of Athens became a maze of smoke, shouting, and musket fire. Civilians ducked behind barrels. Shop signs were riddled with bullet holes. The town's meatpacking plant briefly became a fortress. Greene's men began to falter. The smoke thickened, the cannon fire slowed, morale plummeted. By mid-morning, the Confederate forces were in full retreat. In the chaos, one of Greene's cannons, possibly Old Thunder, was abandoned near the Des Moines River. Some accounts suggest it was pushed into the river to prevent its capture. Others say it was simply left behind in the scramble. Either way, it was a symbol of Greene's failed assault. Union casualties: 3 killed, 20 wounded. Confederate casualties: 31 killed and wounded. Moore's defense of Athens was hailed as a triumph. He went on to fight at Shiloh, Corinth, and Vicksburg, where he was wounded 3 times and eventually lost a leg. He rose to the rank of brigadier general, becoming a legend among Missouri Unionists. Greene continued fighting for the Confederacy, but met his end at Vicksburg in 1863, shot by a Union sharpshooter while inspecting defenses. His death marked the fall of one of Missouri's most prominent secessionist commanders. Athens never fully recovered. The factories closed. The population dwindled. By the 20th century, it was nearly abandoned. But its legacy lives on as the site of the northernmost Civil War battle west of the Mississippi. Today, the Battle of Athens State Historic Site preserves the memory of that fiery morning. Visitors can walk the streets where Moore stood his ground, where Greene's cannons roared, and where a town chose courage over surrender. The skirmish at Athens wasn't just a clash of armies. It was a clash of ideals, egos, and sheer willpower. It was a battle where pitchforks met pistols, where cannonballs met cornfields, and where one wounded colonel refused to let his town fall. So next time someone tells you the Civil War was all Gettysburg and Antietam, you tell them about Athens. Tell them about Moore, Greene, and the cannon that sank in the river. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Civil War drama, subscribe to our channel for more spectacular storytelling, battlefield breakdowns, and historical hot takes. Hit that bell icon like it's Old Thunder, and stay tuned for our next episode.